On today's show, we go up and away with an Ontario icon. Meet Eddie Showalter, a Canadian bush pilot who happens to know how to catch a few fish.
That's a nice fish.
Oh my, that's the biggest one yet.
We also tag along with the Minnesota man who harvests wild rice the old-fashioned way.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hey everybody, Laura and I welcome you to the show.
Up first, Ron Schara visits a remote fish camp, home to one of the world's most experienced bush pilots.
Yeah, if you fish in Ontario, odds are you know the name Showalter.
Tied to the dock, Eddie's float planes wait like saddled horses for their next trip with new riders into Ontario's wild fishing waters.
Does it ever get old, Ron?
This get old? You know, it doesn't. Not with Eddie Showalter. Does anticipation ever age? Eddie's been flying anglers to his outpost fishing camps for more than 40 years.
I don't think we need anything else. You guys should be all set.
Okay, about ready to head to the wilderness.
Just be careful on this ramp, guys. She's gonna be slippery.
Is this my good side?
Yeah, it's great, Ron.
Also on board is a brother Rick of Fergus Falls and Steve Hirth of Alexandria, who, we tease, wishes he was a brother too.
Ready to go, boss?
Of all the ways to get away from it all, this is the quickest. And soon, it was time to land.
Welcome to Carroll Lake,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
land of the giants.
You say that to every lake, right? Welcome to Angling Utopia, a remote Showalter outpost cabin with amenities, hot showers even, and an Ontario lake filled with walleye hotspots.
These are all the hot spots right now. The Narrows, the East Narrows, Walleye Cove.
His angling advice finished, Eddie readies his ride and prepares for departure. And before you can say fish on, Eddie is airborne, giving us one last goodbye. And for the first time, as the airplane sound goes silent, you realize you are now truly in a remote place, a long way from somewhere. So, you might just as well go fishing.
What a nice fish down there.
Attaboy, Hirthy boy. Come on, girl. That's it. The deep gold as the water's so dark. Don't misunderstand. Finding walleyes in a wilderness lake is still a hunting game. They don't jump into the boat.
Now we're way too deep.
And when you miss a strike, it hurts. Painful, painful. And here's more wilderness advice. You're never alone. Then a rare sight, a cow moose at water's edge with her calf. We were the audience for a wildlife show in the Boondocks Theater. Got you. That's a good one. We will put him on the stringer. On the stringer means some walleyes are heading to Steve Hirth's kitchen.
Well, we're making a little paper bag walleye tonight. I soaked some paper bags in olive oil, cut them roughly to fillet size. Just put some walleye fillets skin side down on them. And then final step is just season however you like.
Okay, dumb question. Doesn't the paper burn?
Hopefully you get the grill hot enough, it'll char to the skin, and then just serve it right on the paper. They're getting really close.
Truth be told, nothing beats good fishing,
All right, gentlemen.
good eating, and good times by the light of the moon. Better yet, we plan to do it all again tomorrow.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC Dealers, Alumacraft, Chase on the Lake, and by Connecticut.
Eddie Showalter flies guests to fish Ontario lakes, and he volunteered to show Ron Schara one of his favorite secret walleye hunts. But it turns out, Eddie is not the only one that knows this spot.
When it comes to flying and surviving the Canadian bush, Eddie Showalter is no rookie.
Oh, absolutely. I've been in an airplane since I was probably 5 years old, so probably flying one when I was 8 or 10, and then I got my license when I was 15. I was only about 16 when I was flying with you. That's a long time ago. We're on our own up here. We have nobody to tell us where we can go. The weather dictates where we go. Yeah, you've got to be a very conscious pilot. It's hard work, but the people like you and all the folks that come up, that's been a joy of mine since '76 when I started guiding.
On this day, flying weather was perfect and Eddie had a walleye hotspot, his secret lake, and a surprise guest.
Oh, it'll be a fun day.
So this is Eddie's secret lake, huh? And his surprise guest was waiting. Ed, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Boy, it's been quite a few years. Huh? Many moons. Good to see you. You're looking great. Eddie's father, Ed Sr., was a pleasant surprise. He's a flying pioneer, exploring the bush since 1965. Then started Showalter's fly-in outpost business in 1976. And as for catching walleyes, he hasn't lost a step. What do you got there, Big Ed? Nice, sir. Oh, that's a dandy. Well, they are in here, Ed. I've started to doubt. It doesn't get any better. Good thing you brought the old man along.
Well, me and you don't hold up, do we?
I'm not holding to my end of the bargain.
It's a nice fish.
No baby. Might be an eater. I get the small walleyes. Ed gets the big one.
That's a nice fish.
Oh my, that's the biggest one yet. Oh, good job.
That's a beauty.
If heaven were a walleye lake, this might be it. He's got one.
Shore luncher, maybe.
With enough walleyes for shore lunch, it was time for Eddie the chef to... How many shore lunches have you done in your lifetime, Eddie?
If I had to guess, 5,000, probably.
If this was shore lunch number 5001, it was as good as it gets.
With Eddie's and their whole crew is just so nice and accommodating. It's just top-notch operation.
The great fish you can have, the camaraderie in a boat, being out there by yourself and exploring. I love to explore the lakes.
So another Showalter adventure comes to an end, now destined to be a memory.
Coming up, we harvest wild rice in a one-of-a-kind canoe.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Minnesota Rebat.
Harvesting wild rice in our state is a tradition for many. For Bill Gensch, it's a family tradition with a twist. Travis Frank has the story.
Before leaves turn to their fall colors, Bill Gensch suits up to begin his yearly harvest.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Deborah Hudson gives him a helping hand and a clean pair of shoes. Together, they proudly carry on a tradition that stems from Bill's Native American roots.
It will definitely be 100 pounds today. Okay, we're just going to rice right through here then.
Ripened beneath a hot summer sun, wild rice drops with every flail of Deborah's stick.
You're basically sweeping the stick across the heads of the rice where the grain is. And so as we go through the rice bed, it's a repetitive motion on either side.
A simple process Bill has spent a lifetime perfecting.
36 years I have been harvesting rice. Initially, I was taught by my grandfather, Frank Phelps, who was his land.
His grandfather made ricing a family affair.
They would actually go to the lake and camp at rice camp. So it was a way of gathering food for the winter.
Grandpa Phelps's tradition instinctively became Bill's.
My grandfather built several canoes back in the 60s. So I said, I can do this.
One cedar strip at a time, Bill's craft came to life.
It took a year and a half, but I built my first canoe. There are no staples, screws, or nails were used to build it at all. So it was built completely with wedges and clamps and glue. Pretty unique.
Through a sea of wild rice, Bill pushes his hand-built canoe, all the while watching Deborah fill it up.
It's fun to be out and away. No cell phone, no radio.
Yeehaw!
Back on shore, rice camp tradition lives on. Friends and family gather to bring their wild harvest full circle.
Let's get them about 3/4 full.
Once a year for 2 or 3 weeks, you get lots of fun, lots of friends.
But I want to get it as good and hot as I can. In essence, what we're doing is we're cooking all of the water molecules out of the rice so that it will become dry, hard kernel. The whole process of the harvesting and then the finishing of the rice really is a carrying on of the legacy.
A legacy Bill adopted with the help of some of today's modern tools.
This is old school. Nowadays we have a machine. As you can see, I'm probably not as good at it as my grandparents were.
Tractor power separates cooked kernels from their husks.
Oh, it smells good.
Followed by polishing from a hand-powered fan.
It's hard work.
Hard work that ends with a fulfilling reward.
It's important to me that I continue to do this as long as I can. I just enjoy teaching others how to do it and having people join us. And the resulting product is so beautiful. Beautiful green rice.
Beneath the rice harvest moon, Bill Gensch's family tradition lives on.
It's a great gift for people. People really appreciate it. It's very unique. It's from the heart. It's completely natural. It doesn't get any more organic than that.
They're not all trophies, but they are.
Straight ahead, a Minnesota-bound classic, all about a Minnesota classic. Meet Bud Grant, the outdoorsman.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by the Yard maintenance-free outdoor furniture, Running Aces Casino and Racetrack, Bent Creek Golf Club Eden Prairie, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Today's Minnesota Bound Classic is all about one of our state's most iconic outdoor personalities.
Most folks know Bud Grant as the coaching great of the Minnesota Vikings.
But Ron Schara discovered that Grant's passion for the outdoors rivals that of the football field.
In Minnesota, when you say Bud, it's not a brew. It's a legendary football coach famed for his steely eyes and face of stone.
I didn't create that. You guys created that.
His name, Bud, also isn't really his.
Harry Peter Grant Jr. Now, I've got a Harry Peter Grant Sr., that was my father. I have a Harry Peter Grant III, that was my son, and I have Harry Peter Grant IV, my grandson. So there's four Harry Peter Grants in the directory.
Where'd the Bud come from?
Well, you can't, when you've got two people with the same name in the same household, you call Harry, who's gonna come? You know, my father or me. Well, so my mother started calling me Buddy Boy, and then that just went from the Buddy Boy, I changed it to Bud, and so that's how it comes out.
Now in his 80th decade, Bud Grant maintains the same two passions he's always had, sports and the outdoors.
I hunt every week. I got a grandson playing at the University of Minnesota. I got a grandson playing at North Dakota. I've got a son who coaches high school football, which won the state championship for the 7th time this year. And then I at the Vikings on Sundays. So football is still an interest of mine.
Coach Grant lives alone in the same South Metro Rambler first bought after joining the Vikings way back in 1967. It also was a home shared with his wife Pat, where they raised 6 children, hunting dogs, and ravens. Pat died in February 2009. Today, the house has been turned into Bud Grant's man cave.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you like antlers.
I got the grandkids, they'll say, Grandpa, where'd you get that one? I'll tell them.
Have you ever counted how many antlers you have in here?
It's probably 100.
Really?
Yeah. And they're not all trophies, but they do represent a story.
Grant's athletic career spanned almost 4 decades, including not 1, but 4 Super Bowl defeats. Is he over them?
Well, I'll tell you, if you're going to be in coaching, you suffer through those losses for one day. If you're going to keep your sanity, your mental health, it can't last more than a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on to the next step. Mm-hmm. If that's going to eat you up, you're in the wrong business.
Do you miss coaching?
I do every time I go to the bank. You know, nowadays the coaches make a lot more than I ever made.
But when the subject is the outdoors and conservation, Coach Grant is far from silent.
I enjoy the outdoors, and if anything I can do to help, because, Ron, you and I hunted quail in southern Iowa, I don't know how many years ago. It'd be too far to go back. But, I've seen the deterioration of our wildlife and our places to hunt and fish and expanding populations and whatnot. Minnesota is very, very lucky. I mean, if you go to, say, for example, to Texas, you couldn't hunt deer in Texas unless you got a lease or you hire an outfitter. That's what I want to maintain, make sure that we've got this public land so that our grandkids and you and I still, as long as we can get around, can still find a place to hunt and fish. It's Boom.
Boom, huh?
I think that's an appropriate name for a dog.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
Oh yes, his other pet is a monarch butterfly.
They live all year. It's a little monarch.
So goes the legend of Harry Peter Grant Jr. Boom the dog and a butterfly in a jar, not far from an NFL Hall of Fame bust in close proximity to wolf pelts hanging amid other stuff. Memories all. Which raises the question, what's left when you're a legend?
So you say, what's ahead? Tomorrow is ahead. That's about as far as I can look.
What a guy and what passion.
Indeed. I even had the opportunity to shoot sporting clays with Bud Grant once, and it's a memory I'll never forget.
Well, that about does it for us. We will see you back here next week.
In the meantime, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.